Hi there, welcome to the 5% podcast with me, Bryan Mansell, your host. I'm joined by two elite estate agents, Jack and James from the Avenue. I can't say exactly where they are because they're all over the country. They cover areas from Cheshire to Oxfordshire to Derbyshire and everywhere else, out of Mongolia and all that sort of stuff. But hi, guys, thank you very much for giving up your time and joining us today. How are you both?
Very good, thank you.
What an introduction. Thank you.
Yeah, hadn't
Out
rehearsed
to Mongolia, coming soon.
yeah. Coming soon, the rest of the UK, yeah? On that note, guys, do you want to just give our audience just a very brief overview of the Avenue, where you are and the sort of the business model that you've got?
Yeah. James?
Do you want me to go first? Cool. Okay, so the Avenue turned 4 at the beginning of July, so quite a journey from what Jack and I kind of envisioned 4 and a bit years ago. And I suppose it was born from, I've been in the industry since 2004, and I've been through traditional, I've been through online, corporate, etc. And I suppose in all models that I've worked in prior to us creating the Avenue, I always looked at it as very much a numbers game, and I got drawn into it in the early days of my career. Getting back to the office and you've listed 4 that day out of 5 valuations and all that sort of stuff, and competing on market share. But then as time went on and I started to climb the ladder, so to speak, of levels within various businesses, I started to reflect on it and go, the only people winning in this volume game are the people sitting at the top of the tree in their ivory towers. The people with their boots on the ground doing the job are the ones having to sacrifice the time, the energy, the burnout after 12 months or so. And that's when obviously Jack and I came into contact and a vision was born, and we do the complete opposite. So that's my take on what we've created at the Avenue.
Yeah, it's all about being never the biggest, always the best. So making sure, I think James alluded to it. We met back at Purple Bricks. I had a very similar background to James. So worked corporate, independent, hybrid, and every one of those models was their main focus was around market share and being the biggest, take on the most listings. And for a short time, that was something I enjoyed doing, but it was very much a very short-term career. And I suffered burnout. James, I know you did prior to that, didn't you? And we didn't want to see our agents go through that same challenge and same suffer. So we wanted to create a platform, an environment for agents to really thrive and really earn what they're worth by taking on quality over quantity. Really showcase what they can do for their clients.
Yeah, that's really good to hear. I mean, obviously my background's similar. I came from the corporate world and independent. I started life as an independent and I've done the corporate world as well, and got to the top and realized it wasn't really a place I wanted to be. From a fulfillment point of view, you look at life as certainly as you get older, you look at what your life means and what you've been doing, and I couldn't see myself sitting on the M25 for the next 20 years stuck in traffic to go and deliver numbers for somebody else, and all the ideas that I had, which I found were suitable, really good ideas for customers to improve things, we never actually managed to get through the levels of corporate hierarchy for anyone to agree, because they just didn't care so much. So no, that's really good. So guys, from a geographical point of view, I obviously joked earlier on, do you have a sort of central base? Where's your sort of main heartland?
Yeah, so Jack and I are based in the Midlands. I'm East Midlands, Jack's West. And the business initially focused on that Midlands region, and then over time it's expanded. So we've now got half a dozen agents partnered with us in Essex. You've shared Oxfordshire, Cambridgeshire, Northamptonshire, Cheshire, Yorkshire we're just about to launch. And so we were very mindful in the first couple of years after launching the Avenue that we wanted to refine the processes, make sure that we could create a blueprint where no matter where someone was, they could succeed. Because one of the biggest things for me is I can't commit to someone unless I know that they've got the right ingredients and that we can give them what they need to succeed. I can't possibly look at it and go, I haven't given them my all, and then see it go wrong. And so we distilled that framework. And then the guys that partnered with us down in Essex were kind of the start, because they were the first outside of the Midlands that joined us. They made it work. And then from there, it's just expanded.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
I think the one thing that James and I wanted to do from the very get-go as well was we set out to be agents in the field, to grow our own businesses locally in the area while still supporting the other agents around us, to make sure we knew what worked, what didn't work, and then allow us to build the blueprint. So we've been doing that over the last 4 years now, and over the last probably 12 months, we've really found a blueprint that's working very, very well across up and down the country in multiple different areas. So yeah, the
Well, I
growth.
guess if people want to talk to you about joining the Avenue, what do they do? Do they come and talk to both of you or to one of you, or how does that work? Is there routes online they can reach out to you?
All of the above. So LinkedIn, Instagram, obviously via the website, there's the partner application process. And then I suppose that's quite an interesting point to touch on, in so much as, going back to Jack's point, never the biggest, always the best. So when we have a conversation with potential partners, we go through at least 4 stages with them, because we want to fully understand them, their motivation. We want to understand that what we can give them is a good fit for what they want, but equally the same in return. We want to make sure we're a good values alignment. We want to make sure we can kind of fully understand that individual and support them in the way they need it. So it's like a 4-step process to ensure that it's a good fit both ways.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. Really good. Well, let's get on to why you're here, which is we're talking about Gazeal. So what attracted you to Gazeal, and just let's talk about how you use it and how you found the experience.
Yeah, so how long have we been working with you now, Bryan? Probably 18 months. We were signed up, and of that time, probably only over the last 12 months have we really focused on getting as many of our sales agreed with Gazeal as we possibly can. And that one of those reasons is we are really trying to reduce the number of fall throughs, make sure we've got sales tied in much more securely, and Gazeal is certainly helping with that. Not only that, but it's also helping with how quickly we're able to get the deals over the line and putting deadlines in place. I still believe that the estate agency, but the sales home moving process is not as strong as it could be, and it's much better in many other countries. And that's putting
Polite way of putting it.
I was going to say, it's very polite, very
It's
polite.
not like you.
But for me, what Gazeal offers is an opportunity to be able to make sure those deals are much more secure. I still think there's work to do, like many other countries, where having searches up front and surveys, but ultimately until we can get to that place, we've got to find alternative solutions. And we found that with Gazeal, putting these reservation agreements in place, chain agreements, deposit agreements in place, just means that there's much more security over the sale, both for the seller and the buyer, and also the agent themselves as well, making sure they get paid their commission.
I guess you could probably have answered the question I'm about to ask, which is, how do you use it as a tool for your new agents coming on? Is it something that you can use to help attract new people to the Avenue? Because of course it's going to set you apart from other similar types of organizations.
Yeah, so we've started to build it into us. So when we launch a new agent, they're with us for a week. So we do a full week's onboarding process. One of those days is spent with me going through the offer process, valuation sort of process, and part of that includes Gazeal. So we touch on Gazeal and go through what that looks like and encourage them to get Gazeal set up with as many sellers as they can, so that the deal gets tied up. So we're introducing it at the moment to the agents as soon as they're onboarding.
Yeah. Have you used it at all as a way of recruiting agents, possibly?
It's a good idea. We haven't as of yet used Gazeal within our marketing to be able to recruit agents. But it's certainly,
a great point, though.
certainly something we should probably consider doing, because there's probably very few, especially self-employed models out there. There's a number of self-employed models. There probably aren't many that we're aware of that showcase or share the fact that they are using Gazeal, have access to Gazeal.
No, I mean, certainly from a point of view of an outsider looking at the self-employed model, I think the model's fabulous. I'm all for being self-employed myself. I'm all for, exploring being an entrepreneur and trying different things. But of course, what comes with that, which in fairness destroys a lot of people or stops a lot of people, is the income concern. How am I going to survive? From going from a well-paid job or a paid job that maybe I don't love, but I know I can pay my bills every month because I've budgeted for it. So suddenly making this, what is for a lot of people, and you guys have done it, I've done it, it's a giant step out of the into the unknown, and you have faith in yourself and you trust yourself. But in that situation, if you don't sell houses or they don't go through, you don't get paid, you don't pay your mortgage, you don't eat. And actually, for me, looking at a model is almost like a seller choosing an estate agent to sell their house with. You're, as a self-employed agent, you're looking at, where do I give my talent? Where is my talent going to be best utilized? And financially, where am I likely to get the best return from that? And obviously this gives you something that's very different to a lot of other competitors of yours, I suppose.
It's such a valuable point, because I think as I'm sitting there listening to you, I suppose introduce that part, it's mitigating risk. And one of the big things that puts people off moving into the space is the risk associated to the process. So like Jack just said, if you can remove one layer of complexity, one layer of difficulty, because I suppose one of the big challenges over time, and this is still a work in progress, but a lot of the partner agents in the business are like, well, I really love the idea of introducing a reservation agreement, but if there's multiple houses that are similar, if I start introducing there's another cost to the buyer, they might go down the road and buy the next one. And I suppose my view on that is, if you love a property, every house is different in some way, shape, or form, unless it's a row of brand new builds, right? So there is a reason why they love this particular house. But if you can then spin that narrative into, this is to protect you. This isn't a cost to protect anyone else. This isn't a tax. This is to protect you. This is to tell you that if someone else comes along that has viewed this property and makes the seller another offer, we have to present it, but legally that client is bound to you and will pay you a compensation should they choose to switch boats. I think it's from our perspective, it's then utilising that tool to say to an agent, look, you can protect your income here.
But James, you're on a very good point there, because actually, I'm just going to pick you up on something. So in a situation that you've got where you've got multiple properties where a buyer can choose, and I understand the nervousness sometimes from negotiating around adding another cost to the buyer's process. In that situation, the seller is facing a number of competitors on the market that compete with their property, get them to pay for it.
Yeah.
And one of the models that we have, because this is what we've built, the total flexibility to look at situations as they arise. So as negotiators, you can look at, right, what's the best way to put this deal together? What's the key components of getting this deal done? Now, a reservation or a deposit even, but a reservation is the ideal scenario because of the mutual commitment. But if you've got, like you say, a row of terraced houses, which I used to have an awful lot of in London that were pretty much the same, and I can pick and choose 4 or 5 of those, and there's going to be more on the market in the next 3 months while I'm trying to exchange, Mr. Seller, my advice is that we look to put this in place, that you refund the fee that the buyer pays on completion. Now, if you set that up early enough when you're listing and pre-sale, then actually you can negotiate that fee in for the seller anyway as part of your negotiating. The house is, I don't know, 320 grand, 320,500, and the deal's yours today. And not only that, the seller will lock it in for you. So if they back out, you're going to get a couple of grand. So you're building in the fee that the seller is going to pay back anyway to your negotiating. That's sort of the way
I think that's the. Well, I was going to say that's the bit that I think is really important to convey, is there are multiple ways to skin the very same cat. And I think the various products that you've introduced recently, I said it to you recently when we spoke, you are, the thing I love about Gazeal is you guys listen to the feedback that you're being presented with. You hear the challenges, and then I'm assuming this is your instinct, Bryan, but you probably have a team that do the same. You take that challenge away and go, okay, rather than going, suck it up, buttercup, and deal with it, Mr. Agent, fix the problem yourself, you're going, how do we remove that? How do we fix that problem? And that's the thing I greatly respect and appreciate about what you're creating at Gazeal, is that you listen and kind of go, okay, how do we prevent these problems? How do we move these problems out of the way?
Yeah, we have a culture at Gazeal that has, and it's all come from my experiences and my learning, of all the years in the industry, and that is that it's always moving forward. So I am petrified of standing still. I'm petrified of the business just sitting on its laurels, because if you do that, someone will come and trump you at some point. That always happens. There's lots of history of that in other sectors of industry and business. But ultimately, you're right. We built Gazeal from day one for the customer, for the seller and the buyer. So we listen through the estate agent of that feedback. And obviously by speaking to people ourselves every day, hundreds and hundreds of sellers and buyers every day, we're getting direct feedback as well, which has helped us shape the model. For example, one of the first things we brought in was refunding our fee if they couldn't do the deal. Now, we never used to do that, but we listened to the feedback. And when we made that change, and it completely set the thing alight, and so we will listen, we will act upon it. Sometimes it's instinct, but also it's mainly I've built a team of people around me that I expect better than me. So I meet them twice a week, and I'll say to them, right, this is the challenge. How do we solve it? If you can't do it today, go away and let me know by Friday what your ideas are. And there's no such thing as silly ideas.
Yeah, love that.
I think that what I love is the fact that now there's those three agreements. There's the reservation agreement, the deposit agreement, and the chain agreement. Because I suppose one of the challenges previously was that if it's a chain, there isn't much we can do. It has to be a buyer and a seller that isn't moving on, but we can obviously change that now and include a whole chain agreement. Just coming back to the point, so I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of estate agents listening into this. The point around, look, it's great for buyers and sellers because it gives them security, but let's be honest, it's important for the agents as well to secure their commission. So those are the people that are going to be listening to this, and to give you, I suppose, some personal experiences that we've had. Us personally, we've had a property that fell through, 22 grand fee. I know one of our agents, Emma, also had a very similar scenario. And had we put Gazeal in place for these particular sales, that would have either not happened, or there would have been commission paid both to the seller and also, depending on how you position it, potentially to the agent themselves as well. The way we're positioning Gazeal to a lot of our sellers at the moment is that we will contribute towards their costs to set the agreement up, but that would then mean we split the compensation between us.
Yeah.
So the seller can either pay it themselves and they get the full compensation, or we pay their contribution and then it gets split between us and them.
I think it's worth you sharing as well, because you shared this with me a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, that's absolutely brilliant. So you put a proposal to a client recently, didn't you, on those exact terms? So either you pay it, and the full compensation comes to you should the deal fall through, or I will contribute, and if for any reason the deal falls through, on the money that I receive as compensation, I will reinvest that back into your marketing to get you more exposure and find you a buyer quicker. And I'm like, that is then a complete no-brainer. So any agents listening in, that's a really great way to position that.
Yeah,
my client into the idea.
The reason we position it that way is my concern sometimes is if the deal falls through, the seller blames the agent. So the reason I decided to position it this way was that it was a £2 grand compensation. We said we would pay their £250 half towards setting the agreement up. We would then receive £1,000 if the deal fell through, and the seller would receive the other £1,000. And the £1,000 we received, we would reinvest back into marketing to ensure that seller stayed with us, worked with us, and we then got the opportunity to resell it and get the sale back on track and over the line again. And positioning it that way, it landed very, very well with the seller. They decided that they wanted to pay the fee, so they didn't want us to have any of the commission, which is understandable. And to be honest, probably more so what we wanted. But it gave them choice and it gave them options.
But that's back to what we've just been talking about. You've had a situation and you thought, right, what's the solution? Let's present the ideas and let's debate it with the seller, that's a true partnership.
Yeah.
Which is what so many agents say they do, but they don't. You know, you've got a proper sandbox with these people. It's like there's different ways we can go, but this is the one we recommend. What do you think? And let's debate it. Let's talk about it. Let's negotiate it, which is what you're there to do. So that's great. Really good.
I'd say that's probably been the biggest challenge in presenting it is there's the cost to the buyer and seller. The buyer, I feel it's important for them to pay because it shows their commitment. But I suppose we're an agent that does charge more than what most other agents charge. So some of our agents have been including it within their fee. Others have offered to contribute towards their sellers and split the compensation if that was needed. And other sellers have been happy to pay the extra to make sure that they have that security in place.
Can I just say as well, for those that are listening in, I would imagine there's a camp of agents out there that are like, okay, I want to receive better fees, but at this moment in time, I just don't know how to get there. And it's that clarity on how to improve their offering. And my 2 cents on the matter would be, just by introducing this to a seller, there will be so many sellers out there that when you explain it and articulate it properly, and if you don't know how to articulate it properly, go into the training element of Gazeal, and Bryan has done loads of demos in there as to how to position it so that the client understands it cleanly. This is a way to increase your fee because you become exponentially more valuable than the next estate agent that's going to sit in that living room. And to Bryan's point that I remember we talked about this recently, you then are discussing things that give you a point of difference rather than just simply showing up and sounding the same as every other agent. So if you want to improve your fee, if you say you're 1% today and you want to get to 1.25%, there's your 0.25% straight away.
Yeah.
Without a question of a doubt.
It's also a great way of being able to charge an upfront marketing fee, isn't it? An
100%.
upfront fee to include Gazeal, your marketing, and whatever else you want to package up with that as well. And that gets your commitment from the seller that they're going to be working with you and they're willing to invest and they're serious and they're motivated.
And on top of that, there's also, sorry, bit of a soapbox moment for me, Brian, but I'm sure this is helpful. So many agents complain about having to invest their time for free. They invest in the marketing for free for a flaky seller to then turn around 3 months later and go, we've given it a go, but we're going to take it off the market. Or they want to put it on for a crazy high price or whatever. This commitment is a great way of using the process to filter out the flaky clients. Because a flaky seller that isn't truly committed to moving won't want to do this. And quite frankly, I'd rather weed them out early.
Yeah, it's a very, very good point. Because when you look at if you look at the business model of a estate agency in England, it's and look at it through a commercial lens, first of all, it's uninvestable. Secondly, there is no intrinsic value in the business whatsoever, unless you've got lettings, of course, when you're selling income. So it isn't worth anything. You could be a 20-year veteran agent, and at the end of it, what you've got to show for it is a business that isn't worth anything because you can't sell it. And when you, I guess, when you look at it really through an even more of a microscope, what you're doing is you're buying a property onto the market. So it's a cost liability for you when you first bring it to market, because you're going to front all the costs. And we look at the monthly costs we pay, but really commercially, you should be looking at how much monthly you pay and what's that divided by that. So how much does it cost you to list a house?
Yeah.
And agents, with the greatest respect, you guys are definitely not in this camp, but the majority of agents are not business minded. Okay, they're salespeople, they're peacocks. They know they want to be on TikTok and they want to be on Instagram and they want to, fly drones around and all that sort of stuff. That's fine if there's a business side to it. And the business side to it, it costs you money. That property is a cost liability. It only becomes an asset when it completes.
I must admit, Brian, when we're bringing new partner agents into the business, you've touched on a point that's so valid. The conversations that we're having during that onboarding process are 70 to 80% geared towards helping them understand how to build a sustainable long-term business, because we already know that they can do estate agency. But my biggest fear when we're doing that process is that they simply take what they already know and recreate it in partnership with us, which all that means is they're creating busyness. They're not creating a business. And so it's moving away from that and making sure that it's sustainable, like we talked about just now, with upfront contributions from the client, introducing things like Gazeal to protect the deal. It's so crucial for them building a proper business that's got the long-term sustainability.
Yeah.
The great thing about it as well is obviously with it being sales and you having that consistent cash flow coming in every single month. Sometimes you as an agent, you never know when a property is going to complete. There's no guarantee. Whereas with Gazeal, some of the agreements we put together are 60 days, 90 days. Then we can forecast ahead. We know, right, this one's going to complete in 90 days. That one's going to complete in 60 days. And you can start to build your pipeline so you know when you're going to get paid, rather than having a great month one month and nothing the following month, and it's very up and down. Gazeal allows you to put more structure into your business.
Yeah, good. Okay, chaps, well, look, we're going to finish up on this last question. What advice would you give to an estate agent that has signed up with Gazeal and doesn't use it? Without swearing. You can swear if you want, I don't mind.
No, I think if you're signed up to Gazeal and aren't using it, then you're missing a huge trick. However, in saying that, when we first signed up, I think I shared this the other day, we didn't use it as much as we should have done or could have done. And I suppose it was a lack of confidence and understanding around it. So to get us started and to get a better understanding, Megan over at Gazeal is brilliant. So we would just introduce Megan, introduce a concept to the seller and buyer, introduce Megan to explain it a little bit further. And Megan then explained things much better to the clients and managed to get things tied up. So we really lent on Megan at the very, very start. And I'm sure this is probably going to create Megan a little bit more work, but I'm sure you wouldn't mind as long as people are
She
still...
loves it.
And it's great for Gazeal, great for buyers, great for sellers, and great for the agents as well. So I would really encourage anyone that isn't using it at the moment, to introduce a concept to your clients and then introduce Megan, and Megan will really help and support you. And the more you have a better understanding of it, the more you start to do it, the better understanding you start to get. And now we have much more confidence in delivering it.
Yeah, brilliant.
I think,
Anything to add, James?
I think the only thing I could add to that is estate agents, I'm not generalizing here, I'm just going from experience of the masses, can have a very fixed view of the world and how things work and how they believe, not how the public believe, but how they believe the public are going to react to something.
Yes.
And so all I would encourage people to do is have a much more open mind. Try and put your own limiting beliefs to one side around how the public might react to having to pay for a product that's going to protect them. Try and park that and allow yourself to just immerse yourself in that moment of, okay, if I was in that situation and it was positioned in the right way, how would I react? That's what I would encourage, because I do think it is more of a limiting belief than a public perception that stops agents from acting on it. And I think the final part is what Jack said. Sometimes a lack of understanding, a lack of clarity. Jump on with Megan. We've arranged a call with you prior to now with our partners and what have you. And just getting that time with you guys has helped the understanding become much smoother.
Guys, thank you both very much indeed. It's been an absolute pleasure. I know you're very, very busy people, and I wish you all the very best. And thank you for your support. And it's been great talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
It's been a
Bryan.
pleasure. Thanks, Rob.